My name is Rob Ward. I'm Director of Groundwater Science at the British Geological Survey. Today we're at Kirby Misperton in North Yorkshire at the Village Hall to present the results of our environmental baseline monitoring project. There are proposals being put forward to carry out hydraulic fracturing in the centre of the Vale of Pickering. And the monitoring we're carrying out includes monitoring water quality, both groundwater and surface water. We're monitoring seismicity, ground motion. We're also monitoring air quality, soil gas and radon so that we can characterise the environmental conditions before any activity takes place. We now have at least 12 months data, which is a very valuable data set for the future. So if shale gas development goes ahead and hydraulic fracturing is carried out, then if that causes any changes to the environment, we'll be able to identify those changes against the baseline that we've been collecting now.
We're looking here at a simplified geological map of the Vale of Pickering, which is more or less directly beneath our feet. So this is a view of the rocks that come to surface, but if we imagine drilling down deeper within this area, then we'd encounter even older rock units that rest beneath these. And if we push down to a sufficient depth, then we'll encounter the rock units that are the target for the shale gas activities in this area, including the Bowland shales.
It feels like, as the local community, like we're not getting the whole truth. We are from you, and thank you. I really
Talking to the local community and inviting them to this event is really important to us because the monitoring we carry out is being carried out across the whole of the Vale of Pickering. And in order to carry out the monitoring, we need the community's support. When we're sampling groundwater, for example, that's all on private land. And so in order to provide an opportunity for people to find out what we've been doing, but also to thank them for their involvement or allowing us access to the sites, we're inviting them here to tell them about what we're doing today.
This shows you how ozone changes based on the direction of the wind, and then
what we do is quite complex, and by bringing it to them, they can see the sorts of equipment we're using. We can explain that and help them understand better what we're measuring, why we're doing it, and what value it is to them in the future.
It gives another perspective of it, apart from the company who are doing it and the protesters that are protesting about it.
So you can see on the outside of the Vale, where you've got the higher lands, you've got some radon.
Learned things I didn't know, quashed a few ideas that I had that were completely and utterly wrong, and I think a few others have had their eyes open similarly.
We've spoken today from people from at least 3 different universities, and to know that sort of level of scientific collaboration is going on independently, that is assuring. I have huge suspicions around the whole fracking area, but I don't have them about the objectivity of what's happening here.
Actually speaking to the scientists themselves has clarified some of my questions.
I believe they believe that they are completely independent. I'm not saying I don't believe that, I know they believe it.
Quite a number of the visitors we've had today have asked the question about how our work is funded and whether we're truly impartial and independent. And my answer to that is, yes, we are independent, impartial.
Data can be fiddled with by the wrong people. I don't mean necessarily these people here.
We're not being influenced or instructed by government in what we should be doing.
I think they seem a professional bunch that wants to do a good job.
One of the approaches that we take is to create something called cross-section, which is essentially a vertical surface through the... Most people have been very interested just to find out more about what we understand about the geology of the area, and perhaps how that geology might be a factor in understanding how the proposed activities here could affect the general area.
To talk to local people, to see what they're afraid of, to see what they know, and to try and reassure them that we're here and we're impartial and our data is there, that they can see it. I think it's really important that we're here.
I think a lot of people who perhaps wouldn't want to ask a question in a large town hall meeting are quite happy to kind of have a really long, in-depth conversation where we end up pulling up bits of data or showing how a bit of a computer works in a way that we just couldn't in a kind of more normal public setting.
I think they understand that this is something that's maybe been missing in the past in other places where fracking has occurred, and I think they are happy that as a group all these areas of the environment are being looked at now before any future activity.
By carrying out the work that we're undertaking here, we'll provide a benchmark for the future It's a baseline for the local environment against which any future changes can be detected or compared, but also a benchmark in terms of the technology, the methodologies and the approaches to monitoring which can be applied elsewhere in the country.
We will have data which we can rely on to a certain extent that will indicate if a problem occurs or not. And I'm thinking from what I've seen so far, we've got it fairly well covered on that.
We are committed to continue the monitoring at least during the early stages of the operation. Now, it does require funding to carry that out, but the British Geological Survey has committed to continue the funding to allow us to continue the work for at least another year. We're currently putting together proposals and plans that we are going to present to the government department who's funding this work, and they've indicated that they have allocated funding to continue the work subject to a satisfactory proposal being presented to them.
I would say I'm slightly less concerned because of your impartiality. It doesn't take away my primary concerns about methane, about the choice to flare or not to flare, about the choice of enforcing industry standards, but I am very aware that you are there to monitor them, and that is good.